Today, I'm going to give you a simple 5-point decision matrix to help you answer the question that every retiree asks. When should I claim Social Security? It's one of the most argued about topics on YouTube. In fact, just put into the search bar Social Security and you will get every opinion you can possibly imagine. But it's not only on YouTube that you find a disagreement, it's also in the Office of Financial Advisors. Most clients want to claim early, and most financial advisors want people to delay. So what I've tried to do in this video is I tried to distill the 5 key things you should consider and put them into a decision framework so you'll have tools to help you make the decision on your own rather than listening to people in the comments or what other YouTubers have to say. First, my name is Kevin Lum. I'm a certified financial planner, and this channel is dedicated to helping 1 million people retire without worry. So as I told you, I have created a framework to help you make the decision around when you should claim Social Security. And that framework even has an acronym. The acronym is LIFTS. It's LIFTS. Now, I don't know how that acronym ties into retirement planning. Maybe you have an idea. You can leave it in the comments below, but hopefully it will help you remember the 5 key elements that's part of the decision-making framework that we've developed. And we've even created a scoring system that is completely experimental, and you can let me know if that's helpful, but I'll talk about that more in a minute. So before I dive into the decision-making framework, let me give you a very brief overview of how Social Security works. You are going to receive at your full retirement age, which is approximately age 67 for most of you watching, you are going to receive what is called your primary insurance amount. And if you delay claiming till your full retirement age, you are going to receive 100% of that primary insurance amount. But the Social Security Administration will allow you to claim that benefit earlier, as early as age 62. But if you claim your Social Security early, for each year you claim early from your full retirement age all the way back to age 62, or starting with age 62, for each year you claim early, you're going to take a reduction in your Social Security benefit. In the same way, for every year you delay past your full retirement age, you're going to receive an increased benefit. And there are a number of resources out there that will help you understand what those numbers are and figure out your own personal numbers. So that's the first thing you need to know. The earlier you claim, the lower your benefit. The later you wait to claim, the higher your benefit. The other thing you need to know is that Social Security has built-in inflation protection. The amount that you receive each year will be increased by the real rate of inflation. Now, to be fair, there are a number of ways that inflation is calculated, and some people claim that it is pegged to the wrong benchmark, but that is for another video. But what you need to know is that the benefit you receive, whatever number that is, when if you claim early or you delay, that benefit number will be increased each year by the rate of inflation. So that is just a quick little bit of background. Now let's get into the framework. So the first piece of the framework is longevity. And so one of the questions you have to ask or consider when you're deciding when to claim Social Security is your own personal longevity. Do you think you're going to have a long life? If you have a great health history and you have a family history of living long, then you possibly should consider delaying your Social Security. As a good rule of thumb, if you think you have a good chance of living past the age of 82, delaying Social Security as long as possible is often a smart decision. The break point where it makes sense to delay or not to delay is somewhere between ages 78 and 82. So if you think you have a good chance of living past age 82, well, then you should probably consider delaying Social Security, because researchers have found that it is harder for an investment portfolio to beat the built-in inflation-proof bump you get from waiting the longer that you live. Basically, the longer that you live, the harder it is for an investment portfolio to do better than claiming Social Security once you take into account inflation. So the first thing you want to consider is longevity. The second thing you want to consider is the income gap. Delaying Social Security means, let's assume you're going to retire a bit early, you're going to retire at age 62, and you choose to delay Social Security into age 70, you could potentially have 8 years of retirement with $0 coming in. And that raises a number of issues, right? It raises a bit of anxiety because you're used to a paycheck coming in for all these years, and all of a sudden you have no money coming in, and now you have to live off your portfolio or off your pension or off your savings or some other bucket of money. And so the question becomes for the income gap is, can your portfolio or your pension cover that income gap without you panicking or without you having to sell into a market downturn? Now, I found that having a bucket strategy, so having some cash set aside that can help you withstand a market downturn, for most people can help them overcome that income gap. But you have to ask yourself, if I retire earlier, do I have the resources to avoid withdrawing from my portfolio in a down market, or at least a plan? Can my anxiety handle that situation? Now, it should be said that if you decide to delay your Social Security and there's a significant market downturn, you can always change your decision and decide to claim earlier than you originally planned. But that's just something to think about. Just realize there's going to be an income gap. Now, interestingly, we often find that putting the pressure on the portfolio early in retirement and delaying Social Security often increases your probability of success. But you have to wrestle with that yourself, right? Can I handle that income gap? How am I going to fill that income gap? And also, does it make my plan more secure or less secure? The next thing you want to consider, so first we were looking at longevity, and then we looked at the income gap. The next thing you want to consider is family. And this really revolves around whether you're married. If you're married, there's a couple of things to consider. If you are the lower earning spouse, you may be taking a spousal benefit, which means you're going to max out at 50% of the higher earners' full retirement benefit. So you're not going to, if they delay to age 70, you're not going to get 50% of that amount. You're going to get 50% of their full retirement benefit. But if you are the lower earning spouse, and you are only going to get a spousal benefit, there's no reason to delay to age 70. It's not going to increase your benefit. And in fact, you might go to make a case to claim earlier. Now, there's a lot that goes into that. And so you probably need to do some research into the spousal benefit to help you decide, if you were the lower earning spouse, whether you should claim your benefit earlier. But on the flip side, if you are the higher earning spouse, it often makes sense to delay your benefit as long as possible, because your spouse will qualify for a survivor benefit. And just to be clear, there is a difference between the spousal benefit and the survivor benefit. If anything were to happen to the higher earning spouse, the surviving spouse receives the higher of their benefit or of the other spouse's benefit. And so if you delay till age 70 and you lock in a larger benefit, your spouse will receive that higher benefit for life. If you are the higher earning spouse, one of the most important things you should consider is the impact of delaying your benefit, not just on your benefit, but on your surviving spouse's benefit. All the time I hear from people who say, I'm going to die at age 85, men die early, why would I delay? Because it's not just about you, but it's also about the surviving spouse and their lifetime benefit. So again, just quickly to recap where we've been so far. First, you want to consider longevity, your personal longevity. If you're going to live less time, then you might want to claim earlier. But then we get to this point and we say, well, yes, you have a lower life expectancy, but if you can delay as long as possible, you will create more security for the surviving spouse. And so now you're getting a taste of why so many people disagree, because these calculations are actually quite difficult to sort through. So now maybe you should actually delay your benefit even though you have a lower life expectancy. Is that all clear as mud? So first we want to consider the life expectancy. Second, we want to consider the income gap. Then we want to consider the family dynamics. Fourth consideration is taxes. And this is one of the reasons that financial advisors often encourage people to delay their Social Security benefit as long as possible. Because not only does it create a higher lifetime income or lock in a higher lifetime income, but it also gives them more room early in retirement to do Roth conversions or to do tax gain harvesting, because your Social Security benefit is going to increase your taxable income and going to provide less room for you to do Roth conversions in a tax efficient manner possible. So let me give you an example. You come into my office and you have $1 million in a tax deferred account and you want to begin doing Roth conversions at age 62. Well, we do the calculations and we decide that you should convert up to the top of the 12% tax bracket. So you have, let's just say, $100,000 of room that you could potentially convert. But if you have $50,000 a year in income coming in from Social Security, it's possible that up to 85% of those benefits are going to be included in your taxable income. And so now, instead of having $100,000 of space to convert before you go into the next tax bracket, now you're going to have much less room to convert in a tax efficient manner. Whereas if you delay your Social Security benefit as long as possible and use those early years of retirement, you might be able to convert your entire tax deferred account from a traditional IRA to a Roth IRA and then turn on your Social Security. And you may be able to keep your Social Security benefit from ever being taxed. Whereas if you'd claimed it earlier, you would have had tax on your Social Security benefit. This is a very confusing topic, but it's just one of the things that you should consider. How is claiming Social Security either early or delaying the benefit? How is it going to impact my long term? Now, honestly, to run these calculations well, you need sophisticated software, either like Bolden or like Right Capital, which is what we use at our firm. In fact, I will put a link in the description below if you want to play with the software that we use. We used to give people unlimited access to use it, and it turned out we put way too many accounts on this system and it made us delete them all. And so now we give you 90 days to play with the software. So anyway, you can go ahead and click the link below if you want to play with that software, because to make these type of calculations, you need some sort of sophisticated software like Bolden or Right Capital or whatever software your advisor uses to help you be able to decide, should I claim earlier or should I claim later? And the one other thing I should mention is IRMA, because not only can Social Security income, if you're doing Roth conversions, push you into a higher tax bracket, but it could also end up triggering IRMA surcharges, which could also cause you to have to pay higher premiums for your Medicare. But again, you need software to help you calculate that. But what I would say, if you don't remember anything else from the tax section, delaying your Social Security benefit can create a Roth conversion window, or on the other side, it could push you into a higher tax bracket or cause you to have to pay additional premiums on your Medicare. So make sure that you think through that. So first, we looked at life expectancy, and then we looked at the income gap, and then we considered family, and then we considered taxes. And the final piece of the framework, S, is security. If you are light on guaranteed income, delaying your Social Security benefit helps create more security in your plan. And what I see when I'm putting together plans is that delaying Social Security often, not always, increases the probability of success. Why? Because anytime you're running a Monte Carlo simulation, one of the things you're taking into account is future returns to the market, but also future inflation. And inflation honestly scares me more than almost anything else when I'm putting together a retirement plan. Two things really worry me: inflation and long-term care costs. And so by delaying Social Security, you help transfer some of the risk from protecting yourself against inflation from your portfolio to the federal government. So I promised you a decision matrix and I'm going to give you a point system to help you make your decision about when you claim Social Security. Now, before I give you the point system, I have to warn you, I just made this up. It could be a terrible idea, but this is such a hard thing for people to wrap their heads around. I was trying to figure out a way to help make the decision a bit easier. So I'm going to give you my decision framework. I'm going to give you the point system. And then I need you to tell me in the comments whether this is a good idea or whether it's the dumbest idea I've ever had. If you say it's a great idea, we're going to roll this out at our firm. We're going to start using it with clients. If you say it's a dumb idea, I'm going to pretend like this never happened. Maybe I will even delete this video. And when you bring up your Social Security decision framework to me at some point in the future, I'm going to act like you've lost it and I have no idea what you're talking about. So let me know what you think in the comments. If you think it's a good idea, a bad idea, anything you see that's wrong with it, or if you have ways to improve it. So here's how it works for each piece of the framework, right? So for LIFTS, for each of those sections, you're going to get 1 point for yes and no points for no. And then we're going to tally those up, and that's going to help us make our decision. So first of all, do you expect to live past the age of 80? If so, give yourself 1 point. On the next piece, around the income gap, do you have enough cash or a portfolio that's been well diversified and well designed to help you bridge the gap if you delay Social Security? If so, give yourself another point. Next, family. Do you have a spouse that relies on your Social Security benefit? If the answer is yes, give yourself another point. Next, taxes. Could delaying your Social Security benefit lower your lifetime tax or help you avoid paying the IRMA surcharge? Now, to be fair, you need some sort of software to help you run this calculation. But if you know the answer, if you run these calculations, give yourself a point. And finally, do you need more guaranteed income? Do you have less guaranteed income in your plan? If so, give yourself a point. And now what I want you to do is tally it all up. And here's the framework I've come up with. And don't make any decisions based upon this, at least not yet. This is still in the beta phase, as they would say. But if you had scored between 4 to 5 points, you should consider delaying your Social Security till age 70. If you had between 2 to 3 points, you should consider claiming your Social Security at your full retirement age. And if you had 0 to 1 points, you should probably claim Social Security as early as you possibly can. Now, I'm interested, was that helpful or did that just make things more complicated? So let me run through 3 quick scenarios to kind of help you make sense of what this would look like. So the first person, we've got a single filer. They're age 62. They're a marathon runner. They've got great genes. Everyone in their family lives a long time, so they're going to get 1 point for longevity. Then they've got a lot of money in a tax-deferred account. They've got plenty of money for that income gap, so they get another point. Delaying Social Security could help them avoid paying an IRMA surcharge and help them be able to convert their Roth or divert their tax-deferred money into a Roth more efficiently, so they get another point. So that's 3 points. And they have no other guaranteed income, so they're going to give them a point there. So most likely this person has 4 points. They're not married, so the family piece doesn't come into play, but they should probably delay to age 70. So then the second scenario, you've got someone who's married, and they're married to someone who is a lower earner and who's younger than them. And so in this situation, the family is going to come into account, so they get a point for that. They've got a lot of money in a tax-deferred account, so they can easily get over that income gap, so they get a point for that. Then the next point is taxes are going to be a huge issue for them. Roth conversions, they need to do Roth conversions. IRMA could be an issue, so it makes sense from that perspective, so they get another point for that. And then they have no other guaranteed income, and so they need that guaranteed income. They should delay to age 70, really primarily for 2 big reasons. 1, to create a max survivor benefit, and 2, to do this in the most tax efficient way possible. Third, we have a single female. She is not in good health. There's a lot of illness in her family. There's not a lot of longevity, so she gets a 0 there. She doesn't actually have a very big portfolio. It only has about $300,000 or $400,000 in her portfolio. And so that income gap is going to be an issue. Really, she wants to be able to retire as soon as possible because she's not in great health and she doesn't have a lot of money to oversee the income gap. So it's probably not going to make sense from the income gap perspective. So it's going to get a 0 again there. She's single, so there's no family to take into account. So get a 0 again. Taxes really aren't going to be a huge issue because he's only got 300,000 to 400,000, and she can take that out in a pretty tax efficient manner. And so not an issue there. Now, she doesn't have any guaranteed income, other guaranteed income, so she might be a benefit there, but still, all told, you add everything up, she probably scores a 1, and she should probably claim as early as possible. Maybe this is cheesy. Maybe it wasn't helpful. Let me know in the comments. But what I was trying to do is help give you a framework to think through when you should claim Social Security. So here are a few things you should do. First, pull your Social Security statement. If you haven't pulled your Social Security statement, go to the Social Security Administration, create an account, download your statement to get an idea of how much you can expect. Actually, the Social Security Administration also has some great calculators, surprisingly good calculators that you can use. Next, run a scenario between age 62, your full retirement age, and age 70. You could either use the Social Security Administration's calculator or use Right Capital and just kind of run those numbers, see what that looks like. Next, this is a bit complicated, but create a tax plan and decide, does this make sense from a tax perspective to claim earlier or delay? And then ask yourself, can I bridge the gap from an income perspective? And then it might make sense to talk with a financial planner to help you kind of put all of those pieces together. Hey, thanks for watching. Hopefully this was helpful. And remember again that the framework is LIFT, right? You want to take into account longevity, the income gap, family, taxes, and security. And if you want to learn more about Social Security, I put together a playlist with some of our Social Security videos from the past, and you can watch that now.